wouldn't you say that neglect and abandonment is abuse?
It is abuse.
100%.
The internal abuse,
Yeah.
sometimes can be worse.
It can.
Gaslighting,
Yep.
name calling, the manipulation, that kind of abuse,
Yeah.
it screws with your mind.
Here's another form, silence.
Yeah.
Silence is violence.
Yes.
Wow.
It has the equivalent weight of shouting,
Yeah.
berating, and
Yeah.
you're not going to even talk to me.
Yeah.
Everything is contingent on the person, even prophetic words. You can have a prophetic word. God's going to restore your marriage.
Yeah.
And because we have free will, you have work to do.
That's
That's
right.
right. I love
right.
it.
Right? God does the impossible things, but you have to do the possible parts. And
That's
what is the
so
possible part? Is your journey and it is your work.
Like calling yourself a Christian
Yeah.
in America. It's
Yeah.
like, but what kind of Christian?
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Do you smoke a pound of weed every week? Do you hate black people? Like, what kind of Christian are you?
I knew that I had an addiction issue. I
Yeah.
knew that I had unfaithfulness there.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to deal with the brokenness inside of me.
Yeah. I'm probably going to get the stones thrown at me here. 'Cause I know this is something that we often say.
Do it.
In marriage, whenever the trauma does come out, Christian counselors will say, you stay together no matter what. Secular counselors will say, time to leave, that's abuse.
Yep.
We're Christian, we love God. Is it wrong for us to call out abuse in marriage?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Abuse is
It can hurt you.
beyond just the physical abuse.
Correct.
There is a emotional, even
That's right.
spiritual. There is
Financial.
verbal, financial
Yeah,
abuse.
absolutely.
That there's days she'll just sit with me, scratching her head after I meet with clients. Like, you would not believe what the spouse is doing to the other spouse.
Yep.
You know, manipulating, and that the financial abuse that is taking place. We don't support that at all.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and eventually, if somebody has to make a choice, do I live within this,
Right.
and do I feel like confined into this world because of what the Bible says?
Yep.
Or is it really the heart of God, what He says?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what are your
Yeah.
thoughts? I'd love to hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So I did a series at Embassy City when I was pastoring there for 9 weeks called Upset the Vows. And I had, I think week 7, the actual name of the message was literally divorce. Like, I didn't come up with jazzy names.
Yeah, that's good.
I was just like,
Kind of like your parents were like,
yeah, I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm talking about divorce today. What's the title going to be? Divorce, right? And so I read the passage where the religious leader come up to Jesus and they're like, hey, Moses said that we can get a certificate of divorce and chunk deuces to our wife. And he's like, yeah, Moses did concede that you could get divorced, but it was because of the hardness of your heart.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I focus on the fact that all divorces, the literal root of them all, is somebody's heart got hardened.
Yeah.
wow.
And they would not allow God to soften it.
That's right.
They would
Yeah.
not allow God to break that ground.
That's right.
So that He could do something new.
Yeah.
So, but the expressions of that is financial abuse, the verbal abuse. We only look for black eyes and bruised skin.
Yeah.
For, hey, you can leave.
Yeah, yeah.
But we don't see it on the psyche.
Gosh.
We don't see it
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
emotions. We don't see
Yeah.
it on the spirit. And so adultery and abuse become the two, like, that's what we look for. Has there been adultery and has there been abuse? But there's a third one, I call it the silent A, and it's abandonment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There can be an abandonment of the sacred marriage vows.
Yeah.
That is the antithesis of what Paul tells us in Ephesians 5
Yeah.
is the connection between the man and the woman.
Yeah.
Because Jesus would never leave us or forsake us.
Yeah.
Because He said, lo, I will be with you always, even to the end of the age. If I abandon Juliette emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, all the lees,
Yeah.
she can go, I'm dying in
Yeah.
this. Well, did he cheat on you? Well, no, but he's abandoned me.
Yeah.
Did he hit you? No, well, but he's abandoned me.
Yeah.
Well, you just need to pray I'm going to hand you Stormy O'Martian's book, The Power of a Praying
Praying Wife.
Right?
Oh
and we're
my
going to
gosh,
tell
yeah.
you to,
Yeah.
you just got to hang in
Yep.
there and just
Yep.
believe God for his salvation. And we tell so many people, if God will not force you to receive Jesus as his son, if he respects your
That's
free
right.
will that much,
Yeah.
That's right.
he is not going to tamper with your spouse's will
Yeah.
to save your marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can believe for a
That's the
miracle,
truth.
Yeah.
but at some point they're going to have to come to the table
That's right.
and fall on the sword.
That's right.
And if they don't want to
That's
do that, then she shouldn't be bound
Yeah.
to a marriage where she's been abandoned.
That's right.
Right.
Hey, let's be
Right.
Exactly
frank
right.
with each other, because in our world today, a lot of that is happening between the man abandoning the woman.
Absolutely
You
correct.
look at the patterns of our world today, men have not fulfilled, not always.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great men out there.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
But we're seeing a plethora of people and men that are just abandoning their call.
That's right.
I mean, to be able to be that covering of their wife and their family.
That's right.
And so we sometimes hear the stories of people being abused,
Yep.
and I'm like, wait a second, we got to pause here.
Yeah.
And we got to look at this from perspective.
And wouldn't you say that neglect and abandonment is abuse?
It is abuse.
100%.
It's
So
absolutely.
I mean, you're like,
absolutely.
ouch.
That's right.
But
Like,
they need
ouch.
like, if for some reason, I'm a wordsmith.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I had to give people language because abuse is such this. It's automatically
Yeah.
we think
Yes.
physical.
Yeah, you
exactly.
start to see it.
Right? It's just
Right.
like
Right.
calling yourself a Christian
Yeah.
in America. It's
Yeah.
like, but what kind of Christian?
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Okay,
Very true.
Cool. You believe in a God. Yeah. Do you smoke a pound of weed every week? I just want to know, like, what kind of Christian are you? Do you have a hood at the house? Like,
Right.
do you hate black people? Like, what kind of Christian are you? So,
And what God do you serve?
yeah,
Yeah.
what do you
What is
actually
his
serve?
name?
Yeah. What is his actual name?
Right,
Right.
right.
Is
That's
it,
right.
Is it a capital G? Is it a lowercase
Yeah.
G?
Yeah.
So I felt like abandonment was the other A. That's why I called it the silent
huge.
A.
Yeah.
Because it's like people didn't have language for abandonment.
Yeah.
And they literally thought, because we counseled so many of them,
Yeah.
he hasn't hit me
Yeah.
and he didn't cheat on me, but he is absent.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, when
Every
you look
other
at the
way.
abuse, sometimes the exterior, gosh, I don't want to ever minimize the exterior abuse because it's horrific anyway.
Oh my
slice it,
God,
okay?
absolutely, yeah.
But the internal abuse
Yeah.
sometimes can be that much more worse.
It can.
You know, because it goes into the mind.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you start to think you're crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, even the gaslighting.
Yep.
You know, even just the name calling, the manipulation. I mean, all of a
Yeah.
sudden that kind of abuse.
Yeah.
It screws with your mind.
Yeah.
Here's another form that our life coach taught me about years ago: silence.
Yeah.
That's good.
Nancy
Yeah.
used to
Very
say,
good.
"Silence is violence."
Yes.
Wow.
Huge.
Wow.
If you
good.
won't talk, that's it has the equivalent weight of shouting
Yeah.
Yeah.
and berating, and
Yeah.
you're not going to even talk to me.
Yeah.
You're going to walk around me all day, or if
Yeah.
I ask you what's wrong, nothing.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Stonewalling, just like-
stonewalling, silent treatment. It's violence.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I'll never forget a picture when I was younger, like much younger. I was at a restaurant with my dad. We might have been at Norm's in Cali, right?
Yeah.
And there was an older couple, and you know, social media for boomers is the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And for the silent generation, it was
Yeah.
a newspaper. That was their Twitter. That,
Yep.
that
Yeah.
was their Facebook, right?
Yep.
And the whole paper was open like this.
Wow.
And his little wife is on the other side of the table, just eating her little
Oh, man.
runny eggs. And
just like,
with the toast.
what?
And this guy is just right. And I was a little kid when I
Yeah.
saw this, and I just looked over and I was like,
Something's
I
wrong.
couldn't put words to it, but I was like, ew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something's wrong.
That doesn't seem like that's
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
a thing right now. And
Okay. I'm
I'm not going to Norm's ever
No,
again. I'm
I'm
just
not
kidding.
going Norms.
we've just nixed Norms. I'm so sorry. I gave you bad PR.
They did nothing to
They
me.
didn't-
It's not Norm's fault.
They
It's
didn't
not
do
Norm's
anything.
fault.
Yeah.
No,
Please
they're good.
eat
They're good.
eating
They're
at
good.
Norm's.
But you think about in our world today, back in the days, my parents, you know, that was kind of accepted. and dad would have his own space, his own area, his own whatever, and you just didn't touch him.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, oh, that's dad's area. You know, they would have their garage they would go to.
Yeah.
You know, how many dads used to hang out in their garage?
Yeah.
You know, because and they would go and piss off and they go sit out there and pout. Think about what that generated in us as kids that we were able to experience stuff like that. And we thought that was normal.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Everything is contingent on the person, even prophetic words. You can have a prophetic word. God's going to restore your marriage.
Yeah.
And because we have free will, you have work to do.
That's
That's
right.
right. I love it.
Right? God does the impossible things, but you have to do the possible parts. And
That's
what is the
so good.
possible part? Is your journey and it is your work to make that happen.
Yeah.
Prophetic words are contingent on you doing your part.
That's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so if those of us who actually really believe in marriage, we love it. We're for it. But we're also realistic
That's
Yeah.
right.
about
That's absolutely correct.
right?
That's
we
absolutely
live in
correct.
reality.
That's
We
right.
we say it all the time. Reality is like God's best friend.
Yeah.
You know, and if we want to be friends with God, we got to be in reality.
Yeah.
Right? As hard as that is. So if we're gonna be for marriage, but we're also in reality with people, we're sitting with them. We can't just deny the abuses or the things that they're struggling with. It is contingent on me walking.
That's right.
In the transparency, honesty, discipleship,
the discipline.
disciplines,
Yeah.
and getting to be the most healthy I can be.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
That's right.
we
It's not
can't
happening.
do
It's
it.
not happening.
Yeah,
That's right.
we've been talking about this more recently with people about the people that are like, well, I believe that God gave me a prophetic word that this was going to work and that this was going to happen,
Oh,
and we're
yes.
like, hey, don't take it from us, but let's go back and look in Scripture outside of a messianic prophecy, which was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Everything else was a if.
Yeah.
If
Everything.
my people who were called by my
That's
name.
right.
Yeah.
I will do this.
Right?
That's right.
All of Deuteronomy is if you do this,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
then you will have
That's
success.
right.
Every
That's
time
right.
they didn't do it.
Right?
That's right.
The positive prophecies
Yeah.
are like listed, right?
Yeah.
If you do this, if you obey me, this will happen.
Yeah.
The negative prophecies were 2.5 times longer than the positive prophecies.
right.
It was like, if you don't do it,
Yeah.
the ground would turn to bronze.
Yeah.
And you would eat your own
You're
babies.
going to
and
die.
it's like, I didn't just read that. I just where's Psalms? Where's Psalms? You know what I mean? I got to speed run the Psalms. Like, I got to wash my eyes out. Like, and so like, there are consequences for our behavior.
That's right.
Yeah.
It turns dark really fast. Yeah.
It can turn
For
dark
sure.
really fast.
Yeah.
And yes, God can do a miracle.
Yeah.
And you have to do the work.
That's right.
That's right.
Right? Like,
I love that.
wilt thou be made whole?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Go wash your eyes out.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I'm blind.
Yeah.
You have a
Feel
part
your
in
way
this
around.
miracle.
Like, just go do it.
Yeah.
I'll
Find
be
your
here
way
when you
there.
get back.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
I can remember when, our life kind of came crashing down and it was kind of like, here's this truth. And then it was like, what do you want to do now? And I'm like, I felt like I had like all these people looking at me going, what do you want to do? And I thought, and I remember just stepping back for a second and realizing I can only do me at that point.
Yeah.
Because I had already tried to fix and overcompensate and it didn't work anyway. And I had to realize this man is loved by God, but he has to work it out.
Right.
He has to work out the salvation part or the walk with God.
Yeah.
And I have to do the same. And that healing, maybe there's a miracle there.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have to not only believe the words now, I have to see the action. I have to see
That's right.
the restoration
Yeah.
and I have to know that the things that broke it, that broke the covenant and the vows would be repaired and mended and all of that. And I love the fact that we can sit with couples now and it's like, whatever the situation, your miracle exists.
That's right.
Regardless
Absolutely.
of what your spouse decides to do.
Right.
You have a miracle that exists.
That's right.
Never, ever can that be taken away if you give it 100%.
That's good.
Yeah.
But if you both choose that, as hard as it is, you could have, like 1, 2, 3 miracles.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
That's really
That's
great.
so great.
And
That's dope, Terry.
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's dope.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I love that.
But it takes what? So much courage and so much
that's
right.
fortitude and resilience to do that. And we just want to champion people because
They can.
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah.
It just takes work that sometimes people don't want to do.
No.
They just don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
Because it takes effort.
It does.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the problem is the amount of effort it takes.
Yeah.
People don't want to really get in and do that process, and they want everything to come easy to them.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't come easy,
No.
they often abandon it early.
Yeah.
They abandon the work
Yeah.
to get to a healthy place,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate because it displays in other areas of our life. You don't have a work ethic here
Yeah.
where it counts the most.
Yes.
Then it must be lacking
Yeah.
in other areas in your
Yes.
life and other disciplines in your
Yeah.
life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine that your marriage is failing, but then everything else is going great.
No, it impacts
Wow.
everything.
That is so so good.
Doesn't work like that.
No,
Yeah.
That is so
Exactly.
good, Julian.
No.
Because, but that is compartmentalization. That's not living in reality.
That's exactly right.
That's when hey, I
exactly
got
right.
my Fortune 500, blah blah blah. But
All hell's
I haven't.
breaking
Yeah,
loose.
I haven't talked to my family in a month.
That's
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
And they're all bleeding over here.
That's right.
But I can call that okay. And I can go
Right.
sit at church and do all the things. And is that reality? And is that a place that the number 3 option exists?
Yeah.
It's called escapism, and you put all your effort into your physical job to get away
Wow.
Yeah.
from doing the work where it really counts more.
I did that in ministry.
You see what I
Wow.
mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
In ministry was easy to go and preach a message.
That's right.
And compartmentalize it to the highest degree.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw the results.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go home. I was faced with the reality of an internal challenge that I wasn't willing to face.
Right.
Because this was actually more about this.
Exactly.
And I was scared to death to deal with internal issues in my own
Yep.
life. I knew that I had an addiction issue. I knew that I had unfaithfulness there.
Yep.
I didn't know how to deal with the brokenness inside of me.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, people are terrified to deal with the broken.
That's
They
right.
would rather snap my leg in half.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll go deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
But
correct.
do not touch my
Yeah.
pain of the past.
That's right.
Because that scares me too much. It takes me to a place. It's a dark, dark place.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there.
I think that's what makes the kind of conversations Juliette has on her platform, has a mentorship platform, a therapy platform that we try to get people involved in.
Wow.
What you all do, what we do on our shows,
Yeah.
The Basement and Wide Open.
Yeah.
I don't look for it to scale
Yeah.
like an entertainment app.
Yeah.
Like the work that we call people to do
Yeah.
is not fun.
Right.
Like, so I don't,
Right.
I'm not like, how come we don't have 5 million subscribers?
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to look in the mirror
That's right.
and find out that the reason why you don't have a 6-pack is because you keep eating Little Debbie sticks, right? Like no, like when by the time people get to us, it's usually out of necessity.
Yes.
Right.
It's usually because they're at the end of the bottle.
Yes.
Yep.
The
They're in
end of
crisis
the pack
mode.
of cigarettes, the end of the line of coke, the
Yeah.
end of
Yeah.
tryst with escorts, the end,
Yeah.
like they've come to the end of themselves. That's when they get to us.
Yep.
We're not the
Yeah.
first option.
Oh yeah.
They'll play Candy Crush before they come to us. They'll do a sports bet on ESPN.
Yeah.
God, that's
Yeah.
legal now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go be that type of addict. You know.
Yeah.
So by the time they come to do this work, it's because they're sick of themselves.
That's right.
And Juliette taught me to only help those people. I used to try to help people that weren't convinced they were drowning yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
You try to convince them.
Yeah, and I'll be like, dude, you're drowning. And Juliette's like, stop. And I'm like, but they're gonna drown. She's like, let them. And I'm like, that's mean. You're mean.
Yeah.
Why are you so mean? I'm nice, you're mean. And then it finally, like the Holy Spirit's wisdom finally like dawned on me through her voice. And I was like,
That's good.
I don't even have to get wet anymore.
Yeah.
Like I don't even have to dive in after them. They're at the dock.
Yeah.
I just throw them a robe.
Yeah.
And if they don't grab it, that's their fault.
Yeah.
Why should
Yeah.
I get in there with them and then get punched in the mouth and we both drown?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I gotta
totally.
knock them out just to get them to shore.
Yeah.
So it just changed the trajectory. But I realized, like, I had to come to terms with the fact that what we do is not people's first, second, or third option to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so heroic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it takes work.
Wow. It is.
You know that you've heard this as a stat before. Over 50% of pastors are dealing with sexual addiction in one way or another. Pornography, unfaithfulness, and that can go into so many different levels. Over 50%.
Yeah.
Now, that stat is on those who are actually being honest.
Right, correct.
Okay, so
it's 79.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's 83.
Yeah.
It's 92.
Yeah. There is, and in the Dallas area, we've been seeing so many people, just pastors falling left and right, and it breaks my heart.
Like stars falling from the sky.
It's tremendous. So we created an environment. Well, there's an environment that's been created.
Correct.
You know, that is, you can't be honest.
Right.
Because if you're honest, you're going to get crucified.
Yeah.
You know, and we believe that we have pastors that are working with us today that are dealing with pornography issues that has not gone into a physical, and we're working with them on dealing with the issue at hand.
Right.
Yep.
And they're still ministering, but it hasn't gone into a place that has betrayed their spouse in a physical way.
Absolutely.
I'm not minimizing. If someone hears that and they think, they're justifying that.
You're tolerating sin.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
We're just dealing with humanity.
That's right.
Kind of like God did with both Saul and David.
Right.
Yep.
He took Saul's anointing.
Yeah.
He didn't take his position.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and you got to have you got to realize it, like, there has to be a journey and of accountability around that.
That's
so
right.
there's an assessment there, and you know, when we get into such black and white, and we forget the humanity.
Yeah, that's right.
And the way that God. Yeah.
Teri, I'm so grateful you used that word.
Okay.
Because this is part of the reason why pastors don't feel like they can be open, honest, and transparent. Because our churches have dehumanized our pastors.
Yes.
We think dehumanization as objectification of whoever and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's by gender, by race, by class, or whatever, right? But you can dehumanize somebody when you elevate them.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
If you deify them, you've dehumanized
That's
them.
right.
To make them God-like is to make them human-less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's huge.
And if now I'm a demigod,
gosh.
What the heck? How am I going to survive?
first of all, I shouldn't have the struggle.
That's right.
Yeah.
First of all, I shouldn't let you put me up here. But now that I'm up here and I look down, I'm like, I shouldn't have the struggle. And now I can't say anything. And it's like, no one's ever lost their pastoral position for being attracted to another woman or a man. Our reactions to those attractions
That's right.
become problematic.
That's right.
And if I can't go to you, if I can't go to her and go,
I'm struggling.
I ran into a girl I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
I didn't plan the attraction. I didn't get up in the morning and go, I want to see somebody hot other than Juliette.
Yeah.
But attraction is not planned. If I can't be honest and say that, or I can't be in that type of environment because I don't trust myself there, then I am by default now duplicitous in my thoughts.
Yeah.
Which means it's going to be easier to do in my action.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Right. Well, and I think, again, you go back to the reality, because then why? Why am I feeling that way? Why am I, struggling in one area or another? And oftentimes we dig a little bit deeper. We talk a lot about roots and seeds and soil. And it's like we start to go, because I'm totally burned out. I'm burned out and I can't handle the stress and pressure.
Right.
So my mind is going in other areas, or I've got, some unresolved childhood stuff that scares me. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I know every night I lay my head down in bed and I feel completely just worthless.
Yeah.
And unqualified to do what I'm doing. But yet I can't say that.
Yeah.
So then my mind goes to things to try to medicate it or to make it feel better or all these kinds of things. And all of a sudden, you're right. It's like that humanity. It's like I can't even be real anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably going to get the stones thrown at me here because I know this is something that we often say.
Do it.
But especially when it comes to pastors and leaders, I hear that all the time. Like it's only at the top and I don't have anybody to talk. And I just can't say anything. But I think we need to address two things with that. And that is, if we're really being honest, I think when you have a position in leadership and you are governing and you're speaking and you have an audience, part of you likes that attention. Part of you likes that and it feeds a bit of an ego.
Yeah.
Like here is, people are looking up to me for something.
Wow.
Right? I am their answer. I'm their mediator.
Yeah.
I'm bringing them the word from God.
Yeah.
Right? And so if there is something that's wrong or you are struggling, then the thought comes in, well, you can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But why not? That space right there is the why.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why can't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it because you like that attention so much? You don't want to the consequences of potentially losing that
Yeah.
goes away.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you haven't formed any sort of community circle around you that you could be safe with.
Yeah.
And why haven't you?
Yeah.
Is it because you actually don't want the accountability?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, accountability is like a curse word to leaders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And accountability is only as good as you want to be accountable.
Exactly. And the other thing I wanted to say is,
No stones yet.
no
So by the
stones
way-
yet. All right, we're doing
I'm
good.
good.
Let's try to figure out what the stones were.
Okay. All right. It's a good deal.
Yes.
I'm sure that you all would agree that there's no greater human and disciple, not even disciple, just a greater human that walked this earth than Jesus Christ himself.
Yeah.
And all the disciples that he brought under his wing could not hold a candle to him.
Yeah.
Agree?
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. They were fishermen. And in the eyes of other cultures, they were the less than. They were less. They weren't wise. They were, the Pharisees say, they were uneducated Gentiles.
Yeah.
I mean, Hebrews.
That's right. Yeah.
And yet, the greatest living human and God that walked this earth kept the community around him.
Yeah.
All right?
So
So
good.
he kept at least Peter and John close to him. So even when he went up to the mountain, he took somebody with him
That's
in his
right.
high places. And when he went to the garden,
Yeah.
to his low place,
Yeah.
he still had community
That's right.
around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can't tell me that as a leader,
Yeah.
there's nobody there
Yeah.
and it's lonely at the top.
That's right.
Not even Jesus was by himself
Wow.
at all.
Wow.
He never put himself in
He
isolation.
never put himself
Yeah.
in
He
isolation.
went to
good.
solitude.
To
but
go be with the
solitude
Father.
was always to connect.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Solitude
Yeah.
is always connection.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I look at
Right.
that paradigm or that structure system of top down. It makes me like cringe because I lived it for
Yeah.
part of my life. You know, where it's like, well, there's a top tier, and we had flow charts that showed
Of
all that
course.
stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like,
We got it straight from corporate America.
Exactly.
I was just about to
and
say.
it makes me sick because if you look at biblical principle, Paul set it up. He goes, well, if you're going to follow me as I follow Christ.
Right, absolutely.
And it's always about following
Right.
and leading.
Yeah.
It's never about going up. And when you get that top-down structure system, you're always allowing people to look up to you. Who are we to ever be looked up to?
Exactly.
That's right.
You know,
That's
I mean, there is
absolutely
only one person we look up to.
That's right.
And that's not me.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Exactly.
it's something, but that puts leadership, and this goes as a pastor or a CEO
Correct.
or maybe even a father that would look to his kids and how his kids, they would look to him in a certain way.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, my kids did to me, and they put me on a pedestal. And then all of a sudden, when I came crashing down, I'm sorry, that rips my heart out.
Yeah,
when I
for
say
sure.
it.
Absolutely.
But they said, I never thought my dad would do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure.
Absolutely.
You know,
For
because then their whole paradigm that came crashing down.
absolutely.
That's right.
For
You know,
sure.
so to destroy that paradigm
Yep.
is actually a healthy thing.
That's right.
So that we all stand on an even ground to say, wait. How are we walking here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I do strat ops with organizations, it's usually churches, and I'm like, hey, give me your org chart, right?
Yeah.
It's a top down. 10
Always.
times out of 10,
Yeah.
top down org chart, and I'm like, okay, I need you to tip it to the right.
Yes.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
And as soon as they tip it over,
It's following
the
somebody.
guy's in the front. He's no longer on top.
Yeah.
This takes the pressure off of you.
Yeah.
Now you're not hovering around
That's
here in
right.
this zero gravity
right.
space where
That's
you don't
right.
belong.
That's
It's
right.
scary.
Yeah.
That's
if,
right.
If it depressurizes, you die.
That's right.
Right.
If you're in zero gravity and you depressurize, you die.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For sure.
So just tip it over. Now your feet are on the ground.
Yeah.
You're just in front.
Okay, so
Yeah.
put that in perspective. So you
You're
work with
all-
so many.
okay.
You've worked with, and you know a lot of pastors. Both of you do.
Yeah.
And what if we would change the paradigm and have a paradigm shift in the church culture that would take pastors and relieve them of that responsibility?
Oh my goodness.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Like that's
the-
literally the goal.
But it's a mindset
It is a mindset.
where that is the way it's done.
It
Right.
is literally Jesus' teachings.
It-
But
Yeah.
corporate America is
has infiltrated.
very influential.
Wow.
That you could take a guy who literally told you, I'm washing the feet. And the greatest among you must be the servant of all.
That's right.
How do you read that with your eyeballs and still look at an org chart and you're floating over everyone? It's like, you're like, did you read? You read that and you're still up here?
Yeah.
It's a mindset that has to be chipped away at, and then it's incumbent upon the leaders themselves.
Yeah.
To like, I got to keep my feet on the ground.
Okay, but
Wow.
Tim, that's
There's
the
something
key.
in here
It is.
that
It's the
wants
heart.
it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's the key where, when we talk about people and their brokenness, there's something that drives a person to that place. They want something out of that.
That's right.
They want something that fulfills them.
That's
They
right.
get
Their
fulfilled
identity
in
is
It's a
in it. Yeah, their
validation.
identity is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have to just hold some space here. And Juliette, you'll get me. I have to hold some space because, there's this other group that predominantly gets sort of oppressed in this or suppressed in this, and that's the women. And I mean, that might again be stones thrown some direction. I don't know. I'm sorry. But, sometimes when we get this sort of entitlement, this top down, and it's been sort of this generational thing that's come through. And I sit with a lot of women, they're like, well, I've been in an abusive marriage relationship and I went to church leadership or even a Christian counselor, and they told me that I needed to suppress and fix.
Dang.
What you were doing wrong.
What
the
you were
woman
doing
was
wrong.
doing
That's
wrong.
crazy
That's right.
sauce.
I would
It
say
happens
All the
All
time.
the
8
time.
times
That's right.
out of 10, I hear that, right?
Yep.
If
especially
they've come
in the
through that
Christian
pipeline.
world where people are getting advice
Right.
from a so-called biblical perspective.
Right. And
it's
listen,
so
I
tarnished.
don't, and I know because we sat in the top down leadership position, and you guys understand that too when you're like out in front or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your hair's going like this.
Yeah, absolutely. The wind's blowing. It's either zero gravity or you're in front and you're catching all the flames coming this direction. Either way, your hair is going.
back.
Yeah, exactly.
Every senior pastor or whoever in leadership or whatever, what I'm talking about when you're out there. It feels hard. It's the buck stops with you. There's stress so there's grace.
Yeah.
I get that. There's grace. But what I think we have to hold space for is that idea that I don't always know in my humanity the right way.
For sure.
And if I go back to the word and I read it from page 1 to the very end,
Yep.
and I read the word of God as the full story, not just like little, tidbits here and
Snippets.
there.
Yep.
And it's like I start and I look at how God views us, men and women, at the foot of the cross, and as much loved sons and daughters. It's like it's not top down.
It's not.
That's right.
And I don't care if you're in whatever church leadership or in marriage. It's like It's like we love one another, we walk with one another, and we are, and that changes things.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because if we understand that, then we celebrate our differences, and we elevate each other, and we say, "I got work to do, you've got work to do."
I know.
And we're going to turn that chart sideways, and we're going to be like this together.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Absolutely.
And then it's like something can change. So I hope that somebody listening, it's, whether you're in leadership or you're a married couple and you're thinking like, let's turn this thing sideways.
Yeah. Turn it, please turn it sideways.
And let's walk together.
That way I can look each other in the eyeballs instead of this top down, looking down, somebody looking up. That's like,
that's huge.
That's not it.
You said something. It was really good, by the way.
Ooh.
Good book.
Oh,
Love this book. Love this book.
Hi, book.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good. Okay, but I love this because you said upsetters love people, all kinds of people, everybody. They even love people who hate them and despise them. Upsetters love people who most in the church might think are unlovable.
That's right.
And then you list a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking to myself, you know, when we were walking through our season of recovery and we were working with, you know, counselors and all that kind of stuff. And I remember we took a clinical test basically. Yeah. And our counselor, Dr. Ted Roberts, love him. But he said, you know, wow, Teri, you really don't think very highly of yourself. Because that you took this assessment and your identity, your view of yourself is so low. And I'm just like, I was just like, that's how I've felt my whole life. And then he looks at James, he goes, but I have to tell you something. There's one person in this room who thought less of you than you. And that was your husband. And he's like, what? I never did that. He's thinking like, I'm trying my hardest to bring things back to, you know.
He's like, don't throw nothing else on me. I'm just getting over this.
I said nothing about it. It was almost like he was like, I didn't say anything. I did nothing, I swear. Yeah, he did. But he said,
like, my test didn't have any questions.
Exactly.
There was no fill in the blanks where I put her name there. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But he was just kind of like, you know, the problem
Starts
was.
crying.
Yeah, I was. He was like, man, I was underground, but now I'm like, you know, really far.
Yeah.
But I think what we started to really understand was the system of your thinking in your own brokenness.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't love himself. He was having trouble loving himself. So it's like when I'm in a relationship, I don't know what to do with that. So I have to almost sort of project that. And so then all of a sudden, it's like we when we read this, and it's such good information. You're like saying, like, upsetters love people, but we got to start.
That's right.
Yeah.
We got to start here
That's
and
right.
here.
That's right. Correct.
That's right.
And then outward from that. And I think that's so many of our problems is that there's just so little acceptance here and in our most sacred relationships. And it's like, wow.
I'm really glad you brought this up because there is a mode of thinking that is out right now amongst believers that they get very uncomfortable with what you're talking about right now. They would be picking up a stone right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Around self-love and around forgiveness of self.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it in our live chats. Like
really,
like all this self-love talk. You're not supposed to love yourself, and you're supposed to love your neighbor
as yourself.
Right? And then I'm like, did you hear
Wait a
yourself?
second.
You gotta love yourself to love your neighbor.
Did you just hear yourself? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they'll say you can't forgive yourself. Like all this self-forgiveness, and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay,
Wow.
hold on.
wow.
Wouldn't self-love be my acceptance and agreement with God's love of me?
It's right.
Yeah.
Why would I accept God's love for me but not love me?
Yeah.
Right.
Why would I accept God's forgiveness of me?
Yeah.
But then I don't forgive myself, or I keep holding myself hostage to
can't.
my mistakes and my pain.
can't.
So I'm like, but I think that because mental health is becoming such normal nomenclature in our culture, in our society, we get scared.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like,
fear.
that's not the Bible.
That's right.
And it's like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not written in scripture.
Yeah, that's right.
That scripture supports.
That's right.
And if you need the word narcissist to be in the Bible before you accept it as lexicon, that's crazy sauce, right? Like,
narcissistic.
Right. That's actually, right? That's gaslighting,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
That's dismissive. And so I feel like there's a lot of people that, because we work with a lot of them, they actually have a very difficult time loving themselves.
Yeah.
They have a very difficult time forgiving themselves.
That's right.
Because they think, well, the Lord can forgive me, but I can't. I'm going to perpetually punish myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not it. That's not the way.
You're so right.
I had a hard time with that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I can get up and preach a great message and see hundreds of people come to Christ.
Right.
Not because of me.
Right.
Because of God's doing. And then I would go down and beat myself to a pulp thinking, how could you get up there and do that?
Yeah.
You know, and I had a hard time forgiving myself.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a transparency in my relationship with my wife.
Right.
There was a foundation lacking of truth.
Yeah.
I had no truth there.
Yeah.
I mean, I had truth in a lot of areas. I was a Boy Scout in 90% of my life.
Yeah.
But there was a section where I couldn't be truthful.
Right.
Yeah.
And I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew inside of me that I couldn't get there unless I was going to let go. And I couldn't let go. I was so terrified of what people might think or what they might do. And that held me hostage. Now, that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
But it was my reality.
Yeah.
And it's what I believed in.
Yeah.
You know, and I think many people find themselves in that dark. And I have a deep compassion for a lot of people, you know, because we're really quick in our society to nail them to the cross.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wait. Can we just bring them over here and get them out of the chaos?
That's right.
But wouldn't you say
That's
the
right.
people nailing people are the people who have a hard time accepting love and forgiveness in their
themselves.
own
Oh, absolutely.
ways?
100%.
That's exactly right.
Right? And so it's kind of like, you know, I think that's where we have to upset the way that we have been socialized to see love, acceptance, and forgiveness as out here.
Yeah.
And it's like it starts here.
Yeah.
Which is the work.
That's
right.
the work.
Which is the work, which is back to our, you know,
Yep.
we were talking about. It's
Yeah.
like if we want to have a relationship, we have to start with here, but we have to be responsible with this and not be afraid to allow that kind of love.
That's right.
I can remember.
No.
Yeah, I know. He's going to go, what is she going to say? Well, I used to sit in the front row and he'd go, I'm going to tell a story about my wife. And I'd be like, what is he going to say? Right? Have you ever had that happen?
All the time.
You're like,
I'm always on edge.
Yeah.
Walking on eggshells and on edge.
You're
when
like,
Tim starts talking, I'm like, oh, Jesus.
So here we go. This is during our recovery. And you know, and
This was just during church service.
Yeah.
For me, this is just during Sunday morning. I never knew. I was always in a panic.
That's hilarious.
I know. It's crazy.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm only joking.
I did the same thing. So we were in our recovery and, you know, of course I was still in a place of hurt and, you know, just anger. There was a lot of anger, right? There was a lot of anger, which was, I didn't know how to process anger. I mean, it was Nancy Houston who helped me find that one.
Yep.
You know, as I was standing on a chair,
Yeah.
cussing at the person that hurt me as a child.
That's right.
And I was
Exactly
like,
right.
there it is. There's my anger. It was so cathartic, you know, and I was so great. And
So
she was
good.
so good at helping me figure out that it was okay. But I remember you went for a walk and I was at the house and I think the girls were at school or something like that. And, you know, here we had been pastors for years, you know, all the different kinds of ways that we had been in leadership in church. And you preached and preached and preached. And I had not known at the time the depth of your pain in your childhood and just learning how to receive God the Father. Mm-hmm. Right. And you could do Jesus, but God the Father, it was, you know, you were working on that.
Yeah.
And of course, I kind of go between like, I really have compassion for him and like, I'm really mad at the guy, right? So you come walking in and it was like, You were crying. You were crying, and you were listening to some worship song, and you were just
Chris
like,
Tomlin.
It was Chris Tomlin. And I'm doing something, and I think we'd probably been a couple months into this journey. And you're like,
actually, it was the first month because we were still in Hawaii.
Yeah, you're right. He comes in and he's crying, right? And I'm like, what happened? I'm thinking, I'm already just like,
you were hoping someone hurt me.
Yeah. What's wrong?
Have you been stabbed?
Are you bleeding out? This is the answer to prayer. God, you're with me.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
But I validate any partner anybody who's been in a process of hurt and betrayal, whether it's in a marriage or a friendship. You do feel like that. You kind of go between like,
yeah.
So he comes in, he's crying, and I'm like, what's going on? And of course, then my whole body's like, bracing again, and he's like, God loves me. And I was like, no shit, Sherlock. I was like, I just listened to you preach 7 services, a month ago, or, for 15, 20 years,
exactly.
But all honesty, I did say what I said, but there was compassion in me because it was real. It was so real, and it made me cry.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I was like, God, you love this man, and this man loves you, but because...
And you clearly don't love me because he's not bleeding out.
Yeah. There's no even a scrape on his knee. But I think what I started to realize was what I had received, the pain I had received in his choices had come out of the deprivation of his lack of understanding of that love.
Yeah.
And he needed to be upset in his own life for me to feel that conduit.
That's right.
And I just remember, and we both cried.
Yeah, we did.
We both totally started crying, and it was just like, after I
cussed me out,
after I was like, but I think
just getting it now.
I was like,
exact words.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, and there's a deep responsibility for anybody who's walking in leadership that, and I'm saying this straight to the camera, like, if you can't feel that love, it's okay, but it's not okay to stay there.
That's right.
Because it hurts you and others.
Yeah.
I gotta read a quote.
Okay.
So I had a pretty intense therapy session last week, and we drilled down to some work, my own work, but this synthesis came out about like my frustration with others that are resistant to the work. And it was, your damage is not your fault. And your damage has become your fault.
Wow.
Because you won't do your work.
Yeah.
It's good.
Wow, that's good.
Really good.
Wow.
Your damage is not your fault.
Yeah.
And it has become your fault.
That's right.
Because you refuse to do the work.
Wow, that's
That's good.
So, I mean, there's nobody in this room that would judge. We sit and listen to horrible stories all day. We have our own
that's right.
horrid stories of trauma.
That's right.
And disobedience and acting out and all this kind of stuff. I've never been judged for, like, I've never been like looked at horrible. I can't believe you went through that, or I can't believe you used to do that. That's not your fault. Like, your trauma, your sexual abuse, your whatever, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
The fact that you've allowed yourself to get to this age and stage and you still haven't done anything about it, that's your fault.
That's right.
That's like
that's huge.
That's like a,
Oh, man.
Wow.
That part's your fault.
That's right.
Not you got abused. That's not your fault.
That's right.
Nope.
What you've allowed that neglect and that abuse to evolve into,
Right.
without any accountability, that part is your fault.
That's right.
Wow.
So it's not your daddy left you.
That's right.
So the origin is your daddy left you.
That's right.
But who you are now is a direct result of you not being courageous enough to deal with that.
Wow.
That part is your fault.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Remember we said that when we were going through our recovery, we said, because we always made the excuse we didn't have enough time or the resources to get what we needed to get at that time. So we just
before
the crash.
Yep.
And we kept on pushing it off, pushing it off. Afterwards, after the crash, we're like, and after the recovery we went through, we said we would have paid $1 million to do what we had to go do.
Yep.
Now, with the knowledge that we
Sure.
had. And we said we would have given everything. We would have walked away from everything to actually accept and go through that challenge of healing.
Yeah.
But in the midst of it, you convince yourself it's not worth it.
Of course.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. I had a situation with my, I just recalled this 2 days ago with my son Noah. I was talking to a couple that were having to like step into a very unfamiliar season of their life and have to walk in faith. And I'm telling them this story about when I took my sons to the Great Wolf Lodge and we were on the zip line and I went first, Nathan went second, Noah's third, he's the youngest. There's about 7 people behind him. He gets right to the edge and he freezes. And he starts crying.
Oh, man.
And he won't move. While I'm telling the story, Noah walks through the door. It's providential. There's no reason for coming to him through that door at that time. They were playing basketball outside. The basketball went over the rim and got stuck on the roof. And so now he's coming up to the wood room to go out the window to get it.
Funny.
And I'm like, God, you had to bring him in here. So I said, Noah, please tell them in your own words about this story. So he goes, yeah. My dad, we're on the zip line. I get super scared. And my dad says, do you trust me? Like, cause I was like doing it, like, boy, get over here. Like, I was doing everything, right? Then I was like, and then he said, then my dad goes, do you trust me? And I started laughing. I said, what was your answer? He said, no. And I said, then what happened? This messes me up. I said, then what happened? He goes, I did it anyway because my dad paid for it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I didn't trust you. It was scary, but I did it anyway because my daddy paid for it.
Yeah.
And he zipped to the other side and he didn't die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's what's so scary about this work. It's the zip line.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like you're in a free fall.
That's right. Yeah.
For a minute. You're like, when I land, will I have her?
Yeah.
Will I land, will I still be married? When I land, will my kids still respect me? If I land, will I have anything anymore? Will I have anything anymore?
Yeah.
Forget ministry. Will I have my family? Right?
Yeah.
Right. And like the fact that it came out of that boy's mouth in his recollection, he's 14. Wow. What happened next? I did it anyway.
Yeah.
Because my dad paid for it.
Wow.
And that's what makes me believe in the miracle part.
Yes.
The 1, 2, 3
That's right.
of the miracle is that your dad paid for miracles to happen.
Yeah.
He loves to do miracles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you had to let go.
You had to let go.
That's
The
right.
zip line, like you're not going to feel, there won't be stability.
Yeah.
It will, you will feel like you're being dangled across.
Yeah.
Super good.
But that's the faith move.
That's
That
right.
is.
That's the faith
right.
move. So.
When you heard that, I'm circling back. It's like the therapist in me. I'm circling back. I loved what you wrote about it wasn't your fault, but there are things that you are having to come to terms with responsibility. How did you, because you wrote that down.
Yep.
I mean, that was like a core moment,
It
right,
was,
for you.
absolutely.
What did you do with that? Like, how did you metabolize that?
Well, first, obviously, it starts with me, and then it always works itself out, right?
Yeah.
And I've been a believer in Jesus for 29 years. I've been in some form of therapy or counseling for 27. So it started the way I grew up in Pentecostal churches.
Yeah.
And so altar calls were the end all.
Yep.
Right. And so if you had lust, if you had addiction, if you had whatever, come to the altar, Jesus will heal you and forgive you. And he must have been playing Duck, Duck, Goose every single altar call where I was involved. Because it was like, bang, 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 nope. You know what I mean? And I'm like, everybody else is like crying and shaking. And I'm like, I'm his worst disciple. I'm the worst one.
Aww.
That's what you start believing, the self-narrative, the lies you tell yourself.
Yeah.
So then I realized that it wasn't, it was none of that. It was just some of this was in my body.
Yeah.
It wasn't in my spirit. It was in my body. You know what I mean? I wasn't demon possessed. It was habits that I started as coping mechanisms.
That's right.
Yeah.
Based on the sexual abuse of my past. I was sexually abused when I was 8 years old by a older teenage boy that lived across the street from me. So, so I got in it because of my trauma, promiscuity, pornography, masturbation, all of that. I stayed in it because I realized, oh, this works for everything. Like, it is like, okay, now that this is clearing up in my body, in my mind, I'm creating new neural pathways. I can also deal with this spiritual rejection wound I received from a leader in the church.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can also go to therapy for that. It's not just for the car wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the check engine lights on, so I came in.
Yeah.
It's, I need more Freon because the air is not blowing cold like it used to.
Yeah.
I'm coming in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
My tire pressure is low. I'm coming in. Right? So it became a part of my life. And it's the only reason why I'm here now. It's the only reason why our marriage is hitting 26. Because I wasn't going to allow the damage that had been done to be damage that still exists based on what happened in the past. At some point, I'm responsible for its perpetuation.
Yeah.
I did not initiate it, but I keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I don't acknowledge the pain and the subsequent actions, addictions, behaviors that were caused by that pain.
Yeah. What's huge what you said though is that you were able to integrate or even dissect the two.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who can't do that.
Right.
Where you're just sitting there and it just feels like a big ball of shame.
Yeah.
Like I can't decipher between like what happened to me and then my choices out of it. It's like a blob.
Yeah.
And I think, it's hopefully people can hear your courage in being able to say, there's hard things. And part of the freedom is coming with me holding my truth.
Yeah.
Holding the ability, the ability that I have to rebound here.
Yeah.
It's like the ball when it hits the backstop or the backstop. Did I just say that right?
Backboard?
Backboard.
It's a backboard.
I am the chief of saying things that don't make sense. So it hits the backboard. But when it comes back into play, that's like the point of potential.
That's right. We can do something with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that people get stuck and they're like, I'm stuck and I don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
But it's like in that vulnerable place of saying like, I have to hold the fact that part of it's something that I with the choices I made is the point of new potential.
Absolutely.
And
I'll never forget when I was on the journey of me doing all my work, right? Porn was like right here. Like it's the only thing I could see. You're already laughing because you already know. So, and I'm just thinking, as soon as I can get rid of this, I'll be the greatest person that's ever been on planet Earth. And
I can't wait to hear what Juliette has to say.
I'm like, this is my only. Other than this, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Juliette, and I was like, I'm giving her like, I'm making these strides, and I'm doing this, and I'm getting these breakthroughs. And she was like, "That's great, honey." She was like, "Now you can probably work on the other stuff." And I was like,
I love you. I love you, Juliette.
I was like, other stuff? She was like, yeah. Like your selfishness and your arrogance and your pride and your other. And I was like,
good job, girl. I like this.
Me? And she was right.
Wow.
There's so much other stuff there.
Yeah.
But when you start,
Yes.
right, the only thing you're thinking about is like, oh,
right there in
Right.
front of your face.
I messed up, and if I get rid of this, then I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And then once you get that out of the way, you realize like everything else it wormed hole into,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything else it made you.
Yes.
And you're insecure, and
Yeah.
yes, you're prideful, and you're arrogant.
Yeah.
And you do this, and you're dismissive, and blah blah blah. You don't listen to people, and talk too much. Blah, 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 blah. You throw the God card down. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do all this crazy stuff, all because you were insecure and
Yeah.
you were self-conscious, and
Yeah.
you didn't think about other people. And
Do you ever see leaders in your life that are dealing with insecurities, fears, anger, control,
Is this a joke
narcissism?
question?
It's all across the board.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
You ever
it's
see
across the
leaders?
board.
This supposed to be a trick
So-
question.
You think about what if? Just what if question. What if
yeah.
an individual says, because the fear is, if I deal with this, I'm going to lose it all.
Yeah.
You gain
But
it all.
does the Bible say something different than
It
that?
says
Right.
if you try to keep your life, you'll lose it.
That's
That's
right.
right. Yeah. That's
The
right.
life
If you
that
lose
you-
your life, you'll actually gain it.
The life
Yeah.
that you created,
That's right.
you're going
Right.
to lose
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that
That's
should
right.
go away anyway.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you think about, I'm just like, because I deal with guys every single day. I meet with the guys, about 4 to 8 guys a day, and I'm sitting with them, and I'm like, if you just let go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
if
the
you
hardest
ju-
thing to do.
I just had to sit down with somebody yesterday. I'm all, you want to be in control, but if
Right.
you just let go,
Right.
you're going to gain so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're holding on to something and you're losing it all.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you might lose your marriage.
Yeah.
But if you are able to let go, and that's terrifying.
It is.
That is like jumping off on a zip line.
It is.
Yeah.
And
Wow,
terrified
what a good
of what is
visual.
going to
I'm
happen.
going to remember
It
that
is.
for like
Yeah.
the rest
It
of
is.
my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Because even though it could be something very bad
Yeah.
that they're holding on to, they're in control.
That's right.
But to lose control is a big deal
It
for people.
is.
Yeah.
Very
To
scary for
lose
people.
control,
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
not have control, right?
Yeah.
When God made us, he put it in us to control. He said,
Yeah.
govern,
That's right.
lead, right?
Yep.
So it's innate in us
That's right.
to be able to have control, and dominate, and have dominion. That's really
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah.
But he also says, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed,
Mm-hmm.
I'll move the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times in scripture, in church, we almost take advantage of what that scripture really means.
Yeah.
And often, even when preachers say it, they almost say it with arrogance. If you just had faith the size
Yeah.
of a mustard seed, because a mustard seed is so tiny.
Yeah.
It's so small. So it's almost, if you just had faith that much, like you lack faith.
Yeah.
Like, you have little faith.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, yeah, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Right?
No?
It's
Yeah.
not that easy. And
Yeah.
what I like to tell people is saying having faith is one thing, but the action, the verb of faith is
that's right.
different.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder
Yeah.
to activate faith
Yeah.
and put it in the verb form.
Yeah.
And so when we're actually having to if you just have faith the size of mustard seeds, what I believe God is saying is, if you would relinquish the control, just this tiny
Yeah.
amount,
Yeah.
I know I gave it to you, but if you would give it back to me,
Wow.
just this
That
tiny
much.
portion,
Yeah.
I will
do
move these
something.
mountains
Yeah.
for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so the part that we're really struggling with is that part to give up. He's just asking, till we give up that
Yeah.
little tiny
A
part.
little bit.
But we so white knuckle everything, and we have to have control over everything. And he is saying,
That's right.
you got to give something back to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So even if it's negative, even if it's a bad thing, even if it's a sin, even
Yeah.
if we're comforted by the control that we have.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to let that go,
No.
even just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
And I know that God is saying, if we could just relinquish
Yeah.
back that sort of tithe, because
Yeah.
it's so tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That 10%. Can
Yeah.
you tithe me back that much faith? Can you tithe me back that much control?
Yeah.
I can give you
Wow.
back 90%
Jeez.
greater than what you've ever
Yeah.
had.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue, is us relinquishing the control. And so now what we do is we actually abuse it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So even in the negative things that we're holding on to, that feels like it's comforting us. We're white knuckling
Yeah.
that. I gotta hold on to this. And so now we wrestle with this thing that we understand what truly is
Yeah.
faith and control.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
Oh my
huge.
gosh.
It's huge.
It could be say what you did, confess what you did. It could be sometimes it's relinquishing you holding on to something that you don't want to let anybody else know that you have, something that you're struggling with, something that you're fighting with. It could be the mental torment that you're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be fear. It could be a myriad of things. I mean, however it sits with you. And here's the thing, you know what you're struggling with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You could lie to me all day, but you know what it is
Yeah.
that's bothering you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to know everything in your life has a genesis.
Yeah.
Everything outside has a genesis. Every tree, every speck of grass, every dirt. It started from somewhere. It came from something. And so our issues, whatever it is, has a genesis. Genesis is the beginning. It is the start of something. And you didn't get there by yourself, right? But sometimes we have a hard time letting go of the genesis, especially when we know what it is.
Wow.
The way I try to help people who have been carrying secrets, understand what this feels like. I try to calibrate them for what they're considering doing, because we can talk about it in very lofty terms and throw Jesus glitter on it and talk about the zip line from here to there. But the truth of the matter is, you're blowing up the very structure that you have used to live out your life.
Yeah.
And that's going to be noisy.
Yep.
And there's going to be debris everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a plume of smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's going to be pieces scattered. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
When you tell the truth, it's going to be a mess. It's the reason why when I got abused at 8, I didn't tell my parents.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was going to change life as I knew it. I was 8.
Yeah. Wow.
I knew my dad would kill him and my brother would bury the body.
Yeah.
And my mom worked for the LAPD. She's going to be a single mom. We're probably going to have to go live. like I played
Like
that.
you were, you were
I've
way
done
ahead.
this. Juliette would tell you, I've done this my whole life. I played stuff out.
All the way down.
All the way.
Yeah.
And then roll back. And I was doing this at 8, which no 8-year-old should ever do this. I should have just been playing He-Man and oblivious to everything, right? So now, at that point, I'm protecting my abuser
Yeah.
to abuse more.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to blow up
Yeah.
life as we know it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then you get married, and I still have the residual effects from all of that stuff.
Yep.
That's right.
And what am I afraid now to do here? I'm afraid to blow up life as we know it.
That's right.
But I can't even sustain life as we know it.
Yep.
Because it's dysfunctional, and I got secrets, and I'm looking her in the eyeballs, and I ain't telling the truth about stuff. But so now I'm like, I gotta blow this up too.
Yeah.
I blew that up. Now I gotta blow this up.
Yeah.
And you can't be afraid of a mess.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you can't be afraid of reconstruction.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Because you get to build something new.
New.
Yeah, that's
Brand
right.
new.
But it's going to take a lot of work.
That's right.
For sure. You can't do it alone.
You can't do it
Can't do it
alone.
alone.
Can't do it alone.
Well, those situations, I always tell guys this. When guys come to me and say, hey, I have an addiction, and I know it's not to pornography only, but it might be alcohol,
for
drugs,
sure.
whatever it is. I have to describe it to them and say, you know what, guys, he was a really good friend to you, wasn't he? They were good friends to you. I mean, they
Absolutely correct.
They
That's
got
right.
you.
That's
they
right.
gave you what you
They
needed.
got you
Yeah, that's
through
right.
the trauma.
They numbed you to
That's
the point
right.
so you didn't feel that pain.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I said, so how does it feel like you're going to have to break up with that friend?
Right.
I mean, that friend was there in your darkest
It's really
moments.
good.
That's right.
And that friend was giving you what you needed at that time so
absolutely.
much. So you say, so you think, now we got to break up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
not
say
even just
goodbye.
break up. I think it's also like it's a release. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a letting go. It's
Not
hard.
letting go is hard. Have you ever dropped somebody off, in a location where you're never going to see that person again?
Yep.
And you drive away and you look in the rearview mirror thinking, that's not going to be a part of my life anymore?
Have you ever
That's right.
had duct tape on your forearm and you're hairy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell me, have you done that?
I'm like, ugh.
And
I
have
have
you
to
ever-
my eyebrows,
Right,
though.
right.
My
Have you
eyebrows
ever
are
had
pretty-
to peel that off?
Yeah.
Look at those
Whether you
brows.
do it
Eyebrows are
fast or
painful.
slow,
Exactly.
it's going to be painful.
It's going to be painful.
It's going to be because for me it was like it had become a part of me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was stuck to me. It had become a part of me. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't know who I am without it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, it's like
That's scary.
It's like toxic relationships in your life, and you get done, and you think you get away from it. You're like, what the heck was that all about?
Yeah.
I can see clearly.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
for sure.
good. I feel good about myself. And, and you have to let those go. That's scary.
It is scary.
But on the other side of it, so I think anybody who's listening to this, you're hearing stories and understanding, because we've all here, the four of us have walked through this.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like we have book knowledge, which we have book knowledge.
Yeah.
But we have personal experiences of letting go of that.
Right.
And when you get to the other side of it, I can guarantee you right now, I have friends of mine who are leaders, pastors, and I know they're struggling.
Yeah.
And they just won't let it go.
Yeah.
But they keep on going, and they keep on doing.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything about it.
That's right.
Until they make a choice.
Until they're ready
to let go.
That's right.
And when they finally do it.
And some of that defense mechanisms can actually look like good things too.
Yeah.
Like overworking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
the thing that's like, I'm going to, serve and serve and serve and serve. And, I don't have any time for my family. I mean, it can look like good things too.
That's right.
But you still have to let those things go. Because I think at the end of the day, it comes between us.
That's right.
It comes between us. And there's this like, this wall.
Yeah.
And I can't really be one in unity if I've got that, there. So I think that I'm hoping, I guess it's our prayer that somebody listening would be able to feel compassion for us, maybe, and I'm just praying really hard that they would have compassion for themselves.
That's right.
That they would go like, you know what?
I'm worth it.
I heard Tim just say like that 8-year-old had to do something super hard. Like I can do it too.
Yeah.
I can do it too.
And it's worth it.
Can I say something really quick? I want to just acknowledge sometimes, even just the enemy, right? We got to acknowledge where he creeps in. And I like to remind people that he's very cunning.
Yeah.
He's just very cunning. He's very sly, very cunning. And a lot of times when we don't want to let go of things is because of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And often it's a misplaced
fear. That's so true.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that part is the deception of the enemy.
Yeah.
Why it's a misplaced fear, because we would think naturally I'm scared to do this, right? But fear is fear, right? And so you're scared for what's the unknown, so you cling to what you know.
Yeah.
But you're not scared to go to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? Are you scared to go to bed? Are you scared to get in your car right now and drive down the street?
Yeah.
Right? Are you scared to go pet the animals outside?
Yeah.
Are you scared to jump on a plane?
Yeah.
Right? You're not scared to do those things, but you're scared to live in freedom because you've never been there before. Right? So it's the cunningness of the enemy.
Yeah.
That puts you in a place to have misplaced fear.
Yeah, Juliette, that's really good.
Good. I'm just like this. I want to just listen to every word you have to say.
Yeah, that's really good.
For the rest of your life. You are like blessed.
Yeah.
You are blessed.
Thank you.
You need to listen to both.
Yes.
But this woman has
Juliette's gateway drug.
Oh my gosh, thank
They
you
start with
guys.
me, they get with her, and they're like, Tim's great.
No. You gotta have both. You gotta have both.
I love it.
It's
a great combo.
Yeah, exactly.
Just me first, her second.
Yeah.
That's the order.
We pastored for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, actually 2021, God sent I don't know if you guys know who Charlotte Gamble is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big fan.
Charlotte Gamble is amazing.
Yeah.
She came to our church on our 6-year church anniversary.
Oh, man.
And she began to preach this sermon to us, and it was all great, wonderful. And then she calls us up there and says, hey, when the battery is changing, it gives you this beep beep.
Yeah.
And so we were thought, we're about to expand and grow our church, and maybe we're going to do our building now. Maybe we need to get leadership in. And after a while, it was like, yeah, no, y'all are the beep beep. Y'all are the ones that need to change and transition the church out, right? And I'm summarizing this.
Yeah.
This was our 6th anniversary, which was in September. So then now December comes, we would be going into the next 7th year. And so it was like, what? We're leaving? It's like,
Yeah,
I have
that's
such
huge.
a pastor's heart. I love people. I'm here for it. I want to hug kiss the kids, pet the dog.
Yeah.
When's the anniversary? What are we doing? How's grandma? Right?
Yeah.
All the things. And so, so we got that word, and then it was, we had to go through that. Then the next year, so like by that next time, I was like, well, okay, Lord, when, what, how, So that took about a year.
Okay.
And next thing you know, I'm time traveling us now, but next thing you know, that was the end of 2022. And then 2023, it was like, okay, we're about to go on. No. That was 21. Then in 2022, we have to plan this whole transition.
Yeah.
Right.
Huge.
So we do this entire transition in all of 22. And God just moves on our heart that, 2022 is your last year.
Wow.
Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
out. You're
yeah,
out of
yeah,
here.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can go kick rocks somewhere, right? And so he made us go kick rocks.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, that's what
it felt like.
that's what it felt like. And
Yeah.
so that was September at our 7th anniversary, where we're almost transitioning a new guy in. December of 23, December of 23, we are, is that right?
22.
December of 22, we're putting in, we've installed the new pastor and we're out of here.
Yeah,
Wow.
our last day is December 31st.
Yeah, our
Really?
last day is December 31st. So
Yeah.
now, all of 2023, for us, it's just a year of praying and planning. By the time we get to the 6-month mark of 23, the top part of the year was 6 months of prayer. We were just really praying. And then we just heard the Lord say, okay, now go and do. And we had the opportunity to go on vacation. We got a chance to just go on vacation twice. And we knew that it was going to do something with leadership, something with marriage. We didn't quite know, I knew it was going to be something along those lines because that's where our heart was.
Yeah.
And I did know that it was like, you have to leave now because there's something I have for you on the other side. Like we had to leave pastoring because there was something bigger there that we could reach.
Yeah.
So in that year of praying and planning, we go to the second vacation that we took was in the summer in July. We were gone for 30 days.
Wow.
30 days. And as much as I love a vacation, this particular time I said, why are we going for so long? Why are we going for 30 days again? Like we just had a vacation. And yet I didn't have anything planned. I didn't have anything to do. And I spent 30 days with the Lord, uninterrupted.
Wow. So that's like not even just a vacation. That's like contemplation and reflection.
It was wonderful.
Wow.
Like Tim didn't need me for anything. We were away.
That's amazing.
My son was playing his video games. And I got up every morning by myself and I had breakfast and then I went to the beach.
Wow.
All day, hours. They saw me later on in the evening. We had dinner and then out again every day. And I literally got 30 days to spend uninterrupted time with the Lord. And by the time that was up, I got back and my feet touched American soil. And he said, you have prayed enough and you have planned enough. Now go do. And I was like, oh, okay, well, Timmy's doing great with the basement. You don't need me no more. We all good. We are good. And he was like, yeah, I know what he's doing. This is what I told you to do.
Wow.
That's cool.
And so this entire time he had been talking to me about building a mentorship platform.
That's cool.
And it's really an infrastructure for churches and faith-based institutions because I know that there is no church out there that has the counseling and therapeutic infrastructure to handle the daily ills of their people.
Correct.
No.
Yep.
And there ain't enough mentors that they can point out in the church.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
There ain't enough life groups that people can go that can kind of get that. And so what he had put on my heart was to build a platform of mentors that have a heart for people that love God, that are passionate about what they do and what they talk about. And we are there to walk through life with them in all the areas.
That's great.
So it's a platform that they have access to all the mentors, no matter what. If you're single parenting, if your teen is messed up, if marriage, if you're a blended family, if you are just trying to find your purpose, you're trying to find out who you are, if you're going through a transition in your life and you need to start over, like you've lost your job, you've lost your kids, you've lost a home.
Yeah.
You have to begin again and start over. There's people in there who are doctors and professionals that love God first.
Yeah.
And they love you.
That's good.
To literally spend time to live like this, walk through life with you.
Yeah, that's good.
In a very safe setting.
Yeah.
And so I have mentors there and I have a channel there now for pastors and leaders.
That's great.
That's great.
And so the point is to lift the burden and the weight of the congregants and bring them to us. And every week we're going to steward them. So now that they're better financial stewards, because if you have money issues, you need financial stability. We teach you how to do all that.
Wow.
Better stewards, better parents, better people, so that now every week you just have better, stronger congregations.
That's great.
That's good.
Right? So now you're not so dependent on, I got to meet with the pastor and I got to meet with this. No. Do your weddings, do your funerals. Let us take on their ills. Let us walk through life with them so that we're sending them back to you.
That's great.
To build a stronger church.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
To build a
That's good.
stronger body.
Yeah.
And then so right at the cusp of this year, I knew I was going to do something for leaders. So that was coming, but I thought I was 2 years out. Right at the turn of this year, I was like, okay, Lord, I'm about to start like letting people know I'm here. He was like, nope, not until you build the channel for the pastor. And I was like, but I thought that was 2 years out. He was like, he's like, what you're going to do in 2 years is one thing, but they need it now. And this comes on, I've already built it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I did for the whole last year was build this entire platform and counseling center so that we had a safe place to
amazing.
be.
That's good.
Where it's this intimate mentoring for a whole year. You get access for a whole year plus life coaching.
Yeah.
And you could talk about whatever you want to talk about. But you don't get to say, I don't
I don't have
anybody to
anybody.
talk to.
That's right.
It's great.
That's
That's
And
great.
so we've put in now some senior leaders who have been pastoring for years or who are retired, who've been there and done that.
That's good.
And it is like they are there to walk you through life. And so unless you're a pastor or a pastor's wife, you do not have access to those channels.
That's great.
So it's very private. You get to go in there and talk, vent, do whatever it is that you need to do.
That's good.
But you don't get to say you don't have anybody.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So we
that's good.
eliminated that. We eliminate it's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
Because these people have already been there. And so there's pastors in there that help you get funding for your churches if you want to. But
That's
really,
great.
it's a place for you.
That's great.
What is
Right.
it called? So
Mentor you.
mentor
you.
you.
I love
Mentor
it.
You University.
Okay.
And the BALM Counseling Center, BALM. But it's all under our umbrella of Upset the World.
I love
These
it.
are
Yes.
ways we upset the world.
I
That's
love
great.
it.
Impacting the church and building our faith-based communities. I don't care. We all here to get help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
We are all here
Yeah,
to get
that's it.
Exactly.
the help that we
It's a
need.
growth mindset. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So it's all about people who want it. And it's
Yeah.
all about hungry people.
Yep. Yep.
If you want this work, we're here to work with you. So that's the type of people I'm drawn to is hungry people that will do whatever it takes
Yep.
Yeah.
to get right.
Yeah.
That's
That's it.
I like hungry people that
Yeah.
are desperate
Yeah.
to like, no, I need this, I want this.
Yeah.
If you're like, it's optional, I'm not for you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's
Like we're
another-
not
You're
for
there's
you.
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's somebody else who can help
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
There's
We want
somebody else.
we want hungry people because we want change. We
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to see change in you, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's what it is.
I love
Amen.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You two are incredible.
Thank you.
I love
Yeah.
seeing you two. You work together. And,
Thank you.
Yeah,
honestly-
because I think our experience. I mean, obviously, you guys have known each other for a long time,
Yeah.
and I kind of was piggybacking on that. But we met just a couple of times,
Just a couple times at
So
like
it's just been
events.
fun
Yeah.
to see you guys together and just to
I
see
love
what
it.
God's doing.
Thank
so
you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Thank
thank
you for
you.
allowing us to be here.
Oh,
Invading
thank you.
your
This
space
is like
we're gonna
a
be
family
we're
reunion.
gonna have you again.
For sure.
Yeah.
If you feel like you need someone to come alongside you, a coach or a counselor, reach out to us. The link is in the description.